KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, what is going on? This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 45. You are hanging out with us on April Fool's Day, April 1st. If you're with us out here on YouTube, if you're getting the audio version, it is Friday, April 2nd. Enjoy your weekend. We are sneaking up on WrestleMania weekend. Make sure you guys head on over to all of our social media platforms. KayFabe Smark on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And then make sure, again, get over to YouTube so you can hang out when we do these live on Thursday evenings, Thursday nights, and then we can talk wrestling. We're heading into the WrestleMania weekend coming up shortly. So let's head on over to Eric and see what he has to say about the world of professional wrestling.
What's going on, Brian? Just living the dream, man. Last night was out pretty late, had a tattoo appointment. Got pushed back to 8 o'clock, so I ended up about a half an hour away from my house until about 11:30 at night, getting an old tattoo covered up. And if you're tuned into the broadcast, you can see it right now.
Look at that. Got himself some fresh ink, a little hot ink.
A little hot ink into the arm, nice 3-hour session. And I think it's the beginning of something beautiful here. I'm going to start getting this arm worked on.
Get the whole sleeve piece. So, we have WrestleMania week, 2 weeks sneaking up on us here shortly, but we'll talk about some of that in a little bit, but mostly I think we're talking about AEW this week and what their weekly show looked like for us.
Yeah, AEW lost some viewers this week, and I believe we've discussed this in recent episodes here, but they seem to be declining a little bit each week. And Cornette's pointed that out plenty of times, and his reasoning is they're not doing anything to bring in any casual viewers or new viewers. They're continuously just catering to their core audience. And some of the shit that they've been doing lately is so stupid that even the core audience is falling off.
Yeah.
So this week in particular, they lost viewers last week. They went down to 757 last week. And this week, they still beat out NXT, but they only clocked in at 700,000 viewers this week.
Yeah, and then so you got NXT moving over to Tuesdays too, right after WrestleMania?
Right, that's been confirmed. So I'm sure we'll see some sort of bump in both NXT and AEW because I'm sure you got your split viewerships there. But be interesting to see. It is still kind of crazy to watch them decline. It's like, how far is TNT going to let this go?
Yeah, what's the cutoff? But I guess if people are watching, they've got nothing original to put in there, and somebody else is willing to make original content weekly, you might just let them roll with it.
Yeah, they're still in the top 10 with 700,000 viewers for that time slot. But yeah, I don't know how much. They can't continue to keep dropping. You get under like 400, 300,000 people. It's like we could probably run Law and Order reruns and get better viewership than this.
Yeah, my wife would love that. She loves the Law and Order and the SVU and the New Orleans and all that jazz. So another night to watch reruns of shit you've seen 1,000 times.
But yeah, we'll definitely get into AEW here in a minute and this week's episode. But I think, Mr. Rampa, we got to start with some news.
We've got the news from around the world of professional wrestling. This is the KayFabe Smark News. Hit the wrong button. There we go. We're back.
All right, this week we got a little confirmation on some of the matches going on at WrestleMania. Not this weekend coming up, but the following weekend. Night 1 confirmed matches are as follows. We've got the WWE Championship match, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. We have got the
The side. You're like, it was just the way that you said. You're like, we've got
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. So-
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially with all the shit going on with Hurt Business right now.
well, yeah.
So we've also got confirmed the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair. Raw Tag Team Championship match, The New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. I'm almost tempted to watch that match. We got The Miz versus Bad Bunny, Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman, and Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. How are you feeling about night one, Brian? I'm not too pumped about it, to be honest.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I actually have plans on night one, as we were just discussing pre-show here, and I guess that'll leave me the chance to watch it with a tap of the fast forward button, because that is eligible after it's on video on demand, right?
Yeah, hopefully by the next day on Peacock, it's already up and ready for you to fast forward, rewind, and skip any unnecessary parts, such as parts with shitty Hispanic rappers.
Yeah, the main event's about the only thing holding that thing together.
Man, that's a rough card. For night 2 on April 11th, we have confirmed WWE Universal Championship match, Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. It's officially a 3-way now.
Yep.
The Raw Women's Championship match, Asuka versus Rhea Ripley.
Okay.
That could be interesting.
Now we're going 2. We've got 2 good ones so far.
A lot of critics, including myself last year, thought the Rhea Ripley-Charlotte Flair match was the best match of the weekend. So we'll see what Asuka and Rhea Ripley can do to contest that. We've got the WWE Intercontinental Championship match, Big E Langston. I'm sorry, there's no Langston anymore. Big E versus, should we just call him Apollo? Because he's about to lose. Either Apollo or Cruz. Which one are we going to call him?
Probably just Apollo.
You know one of them names is going to fall off.
Yeah, usually the last name, it seems like recently. But, well, actually, no, because Riddle got Riddle and they dropped the mat. So who knows?
I'm going with Cruz. So we got Big E versus Cruz.
The Cruz
Randy
crew.
Orton. Randy Orton versus The Fiend.
Oh, boy.
And Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn.
Well, so Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn has got me interested. I don't mind that so far. Kevin Owens is always good for some WrestleMania moments. Whether it's his, like about 4 or 5 years ago, he goes to kick. I think he was fighting Jericho, and what he did to like kick out to grab instead of grabbing the ropes, he just touched his finger to it. Like that was a classic thing last year, jumping off the sign. He's always got something going on, right? A good old KO mania. So that one's okay. Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and then your 3-way match with Edge, Roman, and Daniel Bryan. The Randy Orton Fiend thing, not excited about because I know it's going to be cinematic.
Yeah. Oh, have you heard it's going to be cinematic for sure?
No. That's just
is it going to be a fucking magic show like usual?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's going to be a cinematic. Well, like that cinematic magic show, like we just saw. That's what I'm guessing. I know. I've read, seen nothing. I'm just going by old gut instinct that it's going to stink. Instinct.
Your instinct says it's going to stink.
And stink on ice. But they are working with a live crowd.
Yeah, that is true. There's going to be 45,000 pairs of eyes on them.
So that could change it. There is possibilities. If it's a live crowd and an actual wrestling match, could be interesting. If it's some make-believe backstage, watch it on a TV like it's a movie, it's going to stink. It's very they're going to go either way. One way or the other they have to go, and it's either going to be the right way or the wrong way.
Yeah, so night 2's looking pretty good, but we have a potential stink bomb on deck. So we shall see if we're holding our nose by the end of this. Sad news. Well, not terribly sad because he seems to be doing okay. But the Road Dogg, Jesse James, aka Brian Armstrong, suffered a heart attack this week, and he's in the hospital right now. And there's an update from his wife saying the doctor came in. Brian's kidneys came back clear, and a heart cath is scheduled for Monday, and they will determine what's to be done after that. So, BG, Brian James,
BG, Brian James, Road Dogg, whatever you want to call him.
Road Dogg, Brian Armstrong, suffered a heart attack, and but yeah, he'll be. I think he's going to pull through it, and he's going to be like the King. Jerry Lawler had that heart attack on live TV, he's back and better than ever.
He still blames Dolph Ziggler for that.
I'm sure he does.
He said that it was in an interview that Dolph gave him, if you watch the match back, Dolph gives the King a bunch of like rapid elbow drops. Dolph Ziggler does these where he's like elbow, 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 elbow. And he said that he just says that because otherwise he had no history of it. And he says that just threw him into an arrhythmia and then popped him into a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
That's what.
Good thing he didn't die. That would have been pretty shitty on Dolph's conscience.
Yeah. So afterwards, he's like, that's what I can only think it was. Like, he did this move where he's just elbow, 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 hitting me in the chest. And he's like, I think it just screwed up my heart. Go to sleep on live TV.
Yeah, that was weird. I was watching that episode live, and it was just like, what the fuck?
You can hear.
I was probably watching it with you.
You can go back and you could hear the King snoring. It was crazy. But yeah. Anything else you got going on in the news for us besides what we're looking for WrestleMania weekend?
We can't go a week without our weekly Peacock, Brian.
It is.
We got to talk about the cock.
Peacock news might need its own sweeper.
So, WWE the network removed a segment from the July 6, 1998 episode of Raw. And that episode famously is where DX mocked the Nation of Domination and X-Pac, a.k.a. Mizark.
Mizark Henry.
A little blackface going on. A little blackface going on in that segment. That episode hasn't made it to Peacock yet. As we noted before, Peacock's got a ton of footage to go through to get up on Peacock. But WWE went ahead and jumped the gun on that one. Said we'll take this one. We'll take this one off your hands, Peacock.
That was the funniest skit in the history of wrestling.
Oh, God, racist or not, that was hilarious.
It was funny.
NBC did release a statement to the New York Times, and I quote, "Like with other shows on the Peacock platform, we are reviewing WWE content to ensure it aligns with Peacock standards and practices." And WWE piggybacked on that and said, "Peacock and WWE are reviewing all past content to ensure it fits our 2021 standards."
So what they're telling us is, don't be ready to watch any old ECW.
Yeah, there was a bunch of tweets going on. I didn't pull any of them because I'm a great journalist, apparently. But for example, Brian Pillman Jr. tweeted out, "Yeah, I don't think any of my dad's promos are going to be making it to Peacock."
I don't think the episode of ECW when I believe it was the Sandman was on a cross with a crown of barbed wire.
Yeah, that was the one. Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle was in the house for
first
that
exposure.
Yes, ECW was trying to sign him to pro wrestling, and he said, "What the hell is this shit?" I doubt the episode anything dealing with New Jack. Any ECW dealing with Chris Candido and Tammy Lynn Sitch, as she was half naked the entire time.
Yeah.
The Dudley Boys. There's just lots of blood, all the fire, thumbtacks, Sabu, Rob. Yeah, nope. ECW just gonna get canceled.
Yeah, after this 17,000 hours or whatever that they say they have to review, probably only about I'd say 12,000 hours is gonna make it. There's probably 5,000 hours of shit they're gonna be like, yeah, this ain't cutting it, and G-rated 2021.
Let's be honest. Shane Douglas used to start his matches after being introduced with "cut the fucking music." So, I don't think that'll pass.
I don't. Is that on WWE Network right now?
Yeah, all the ECW stuff is. Well, was. I just my WWE Network just got canceled because I got an email and they stated that you will not be renewed because, well, it's going to be April here, and I think it was up on Sunday. That was my renewal date, and they just said we're not going to renew you. So they said it's done. It's a wrap.
Yeah, but I was just wondering if I know all the ECW stuff was on the network, but I don't think they would let F-bombs slip. They would have to at least bleep that, right?
No, I think they let it slip. It was all stated to be over. It was rated. They had the rating up front to what you were going to tune in and watch.
Okay, I got you.
But those were just on their pay-per-views that he could get away with the cussing.
And then my final story of the week, WWE released their official list of the top 50 female superstars to ever perform in a WWE ring.
Oh, really? I missed this.
No, no Mae Young, no Fabulous Moolah. But let's see here. Name someone that you absolutely don't think could make the top 50 female wrestlers list, Brian.
Somebody
like name the most abomination female wrestler you know that's performed in WWE.
Bull Nakano.
All right, you did it. She's not on the list. What?
She was like a one-off, though.
I'll tell you who. Oh no, she's number 29. So there you go. That shows you how great this list is. Stephanie McMahon is on the list, Brian. She was
a champion.
She's the number 23 top female wrestler. Rhea Ripley, just from wrestling in NXT. Has she even had any matches in WWE, in the Raw or SmackDown, any of that shit yet? She had WrestleMania.
She got pulled up to WrestleMania, so whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I love Rhea Ripley, but she's already cracking the top 20. She's number 21 here. But I'll run you through the top 10.
Please, I am dying here.
Our WWE top 10 female superstars. Number 10, Bayley.
Number 10 is Bayley?
Bayley.
Okay.
Number 9, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
How long was she even in the fucking company?
I would guess a year tops. If it was over a year, we're talking 18 months.
Number 8, Lita. I can see that. Number 7, Alundra Blaze, a.k.a. Medusa.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, Sasha Banks. Number 5, Asuka.
Okay.
Number 4, Chyna. Number 3, Becky Lynch. Number 2, Charlotte Flair. And just take a stab at who our number 1 is, Brian.
I got nothing. I'm dying. I'm sitting here thinking, like, well, we've put Charlotte Flair at 2. We've already said Becky Lynch. And we've hit Sasha. Who is it?
I can't get no Stratusfaction because it's Trish Stratus, number 1.
I can't be mad at Trish.
No, can't be mad at that.
The top 10 really isn't that bad.
Well, what I find wrong with it is for as long as WWE's been around, the top 10, most of them are still wrestling. Right. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Trish Stratus still comes around now and again, Asuka, Sasha Banks, Ronda Rousey keeps getting rumored to come back, and Bayley. So it's like, really? The top 10 female wrestlers of all time, a whole bunch of them are still wrestling today. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess I just really shouldn't care that much.
It is hard to. So you're having the hard time that they're still fighting and they're put into the ranking system already.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like basically out of all the years WWE has had female wrestlers in its roster all through the 90s, all through the 80s. I mean, the 80s wasn't huge. The early 2000s, they're basically saying that a whole bunch of them that are still wrestling in 2020 are in the top 10.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just completely throwing to the wind the Jacquelines, the
Lita on there anywhere?
Lita was number 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I zoned out for a half second.
But the Tori Wilsons are like way down the list.
Bull Nakano made it to the list.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm going nowhere with this, but I just because I'm not getting any reaction out of you, but it's just weird to me that it's like, yeah, all the best ones. You can still see them every Monday and Friday.
No, I see
the best ones ever.
Yeah,
in the ring.
all the best ones. So anybody else is not the best. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Then it makes the list a little lopsided. I agree with you.
Yeah, because AJ Lee, she was humongous, and around the CM Punk era there, number 19. Let's see here. Jacqueline, way down at 32. I felt she was huge.
What about Miss Kitty?
Yeah, she didn't make the list. There's probably still a little heat floating around there. Even Tony Storm is on the list at 50. Shitsy Blackfart is on the list at 46.
Hasn't even left NXT yet.
Nope. Ember Moon is on there.
So it's really an all-inclusive list.
Yeah.
This is just
I
a
think
list.
They just put
a list of female wrestlers
who's ever wrestled. And they just shook it up in a fucking boggle cube.
But I can't. You said there was no Mae Young
and no Fabulous Moolah.
Like, really?
I know. Just the giving birth to a hand should get you on the list.
Taking as many Bubba Ray power bombs as they took, both of them ladies. Like, are you kidding me? They were doing everything. Like, do it. Kurt Angle gave her the Angle Slam. Like, they were wrestling through the Attitude Era or taking wrestling bumps.
Yeah, I don't know. I should print. I no longer read notes off paper anymore, but I'm tempted to print this list off right now, and so I can crumble it up and throw it in the trash.
I'll get a sound bite for next week, so I'll hit the crumble,
and I'll just.
This list sucks.
But yeah, that's. Go ahead and hit the news ticker there, Brian. I think news is wrapped unless you got anything lined up.
I don't have any news, so that wraps the news. Do. And remember to hit the right button, and we're back. All right. Well, we went over some news. Nothing big. Kind of waiting to see how WrestleMania unravels and what's going to happen. You still got another week for that, so they can still play with. The card could adjust. Things could happen. Things could be taken away. People could be added. Who knows? It is the WWE, and it is their show. They let us know that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what goes on leading up to WrestleMania, after WrestleMania, and with NXT moving over to Tuesdays. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that.
I wish that they would have not done WrestleMania for 2 nights, made this a decent card. They could probably axe a few things, you know what I'm saying, and really edit it down, combine the 2 nights and take a few things out from here and a few things out from over there, and really just gave Saturday night back to NXT for a takeover show. You've already had the arena. It can just be in there. I don't know. That's just me. 2 nights. I think it takes away from the Thunder. But they kind of got a shittier night for the first night for the WrestleMania, so I don't know. I'm not necessarily a big fan of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for the casual fans, they're not going to want to spend 6 hours of their weekend watching wrestling. I could be wrong, but for the if you and I weren't doing podcasts and if that wasn't the interesting show of the week, I probably would skip night one altogether. Just be like, yeah, I'll just catch up on it Sunday.
Power watch
And
it.
yeah. So I don't know. I think just like you said, this could have been condensed down into one even 4-hour show.
Yeah, they could bump it up. Like we were just talking last week how they really they've cut down the mid card, the fast lanes, if you will, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them, that they've edited those down so much that they're like just over, not even 3 hours. They're just over 2, that 2.5 mark.
Yeah, it was like 2:42 or something like that.
So this is WrestleMania, though. I'll take 4, but, maybe push the start time up a little bit. I don't need it going until 12:30 at night. Push a 7 to 11 or something like that, right? Or 6 to 10, however you want to work it. It's WrestleMania. Hell, back in like WrestleMania 7 was at like 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They used to be on like, I think WrestleMania 2 was on a Monday. Like they were all over the place in the beginning.
I can't remember. I think it was 2 years ago. It was 5 hours long. WrestleMania was.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I was dozing
7
off.
7 to 12.
I was dozing off. Yeah, that was rough. So, but we'll see. I'm glad that it's not a regular thing. Last year, I get it. It was thrown together lickety split. This year, I think they're doing it for the attendance purposes to try and sell more tickets and spread out the people, even though it's wrestling fans, so they all bought 2 tickets. They're already there. It isn't like somebody else gets to go Sunday because somebody else went Saturday. It's not like you get to switch. It's just buy more tickets. So it's a money grab kind of for WWE in that aspect, where they're like, well, we can't have all the people in, so let's sell them 2 tickets. They don't care if it's somebody else that didn't get to go. They just want to sell 2 tickets. They still want to sell 100,000 tickets total.
Right. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. We'll see once everything's quote unquote back to normal. We'll see how things play out.
Right.
If they're going to stick to a lot of these tactics that they're using for the Corona era, such as cinematic matches and whatnot, and 2-night WrestleManias. Be interesting to see as things roll on into 2022.
Now, does this little section this year, does this get its own era? Is this the COVID era? So would this be in a future show if we do an overrated, underrated again, and I bring up the COVID era? Are we gonna have to? Is this gonna be like the Attitude Era, the COVID era? Is this how this falls? I don't know. We shall see how long this works and stretches out.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. All right. I've been switching it up a little bit because we're going to do our overrated, underrated. So I got a little twist on it. So we're going to do a little factions, some of overrated, underrated. But what I want to do is we're going to do, I only got 3 because I didn't want to, and I kind of ran out of ideas, and it'll be enough content here anyways. But it is the same faction, but there's 2 different, if you will, eras of it. So I want you to rate both factions of it. So we're going to say overrated, underrated, the Nation of Domination, first leader Farouk versus the leader with The Rock. Overrated, underrated. You can give an overall for the whole Nation of Domination, then you can kind of break down the 2 if how you feel about those 2.
I think they're both overrated. It was an interesting faction, but when you delve past basically The Rock, Farouk, and you see what Farouk became with the APA, Farouk from the Nation was pretty much trash. Charles Wright in the Nation compared to the Godfather was like trash. Savio Vega, trash.
Crush
D'Lo Brown,
Crush,
trash. Oh, I forgot about Crush. So, I I think people do they kind of make them out to be more important than they really were, when really, even when The Rock was leading them, it was just The Rock show and then a couple of schlubs behind him.
You got Mark Henry out of it. That was about it, I think.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right, so just overall, both sides. We're not even breaking it down. We're not calling one greater than the other. The whole Nation of Domination, overrated. All right. D-Generation X. You've got two versions of that. You've got DX with just Shawn and Triple H and China, Rick Rude, give or take. And then you've got DX with Triple H as the leader with the New Age Outlaws, X-Pac. That version of and China. So you've got that version of D-Generation X. Where are you at with D-Generation X? Overrated or underrated?
I think the original DX, pretty much just China, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, would be underrated. They were, to use a cliche term, ahead of their time, almost, to where nobody really knew what to do with them.
They were literally creating the Attitude Era week by week.
Right. And then when you get to the Degeneration X with Mr. Ass, Billy Gunn, the Road Dogg, X-Pac, I think that is overrated, just because it was almost manufactured. Like, it was put together for teenage kids to be obnoxious and to, yeah, suck it, dude.
It was like trying to be rebellious.
Yeah, they were try-harding. That's what I would put it at.
I didn't even bring in. I contemplated bringing in the second version or the third version of DX, right, where it was just Shawn and Triple H as a tag team. So if you want to give one on that, I just kind of thought of that, because remember they went away for the longest time, then brought them back as the tag team, and they had Hornswoggle running around with them.
Well, just to me, that would be the best one. When it's just Shawn and Triple H, and they're older, and they give even less fucks than they gave before.
Yeah, because then at that point, Vince and everybody went, okay, you guys, we know what you're doing. Go. Go do what you do. Be funny.
Right. So, yeah, that would be my favorite one out of them.
All right. Last one goes with that flag behind you there. You've got the New World Order. You have the New World Order in its original formation of Hall, Nash, and then Hogan with the big heel turn. And then you've got the NWO, what it came to be known as.
And this is basically, I'm going to recycle the DX answer here.
I knew it was going to come, but I just throw it out there.
The original is underrated because look what Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hogan did. They blew WCW up, and that's when they started stomping WWE. So it was and then it just became watered down with the Wolf Pack. And once again, we bring Six into this thing.
Six was all right.
Virgil.
Vincent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, then they started adding, they brought their NWO jobbers in, unfortunately, Scott Norton. Buff became something out of it, Buff Bagwell. He took it, and it stepped him up. I think Scott Steiner, when he went in, he was above the mid-card guy, but he had a lot of that. They just wanted to say the NWO was on the house show card, and Hall and Nash, and Hall, Nash, and Hogan didn't have to show up. So that was the way it was. And you beat me to the punch. I was going to throw in that wild card of the Wolfpack in there as well, but you just went and stomped down all of it. Anything post Hall, Nash, and Hogan was started to go downhill. So you said it. So what you're saying is the NWO went downhill pretty quickly.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
What about the reiteration of the NWO inside WWE when Vince brought them back, and it was again Hogan, Hall, and Nash? Then they added Shawn Michaels for like 30 seconds, and then the whole thing kind of fell apart.
Yeah, was that even on the rating scale? Were people going nuts over that? Or
It was when Hogan finally came back to it. It was Hogan, Hall, and Nash finally made their way back after the purchase of WCW.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because when the purchase was originally made, the biggest star they pulled was Booker T. So
Yeah, and then DDP
yes.
slowly jumped over. That was about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was important though, because I think people were basically sitting around waiting. When's Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hogan gonna come back? And so
Yeah, they were
yeah,
sitting at home collecting their cheddar because WCW was run so terribly that the contracts weren't for their main stars, weren't under WCW.
they were from Turner.
They were from Turner, so they stayed home, sat home, and got their paycheck dropped into their bank account every week or bi-weekly, whatever it was, and didn't have to work for the remainder of their contract. That's why Sting didn't do anything. That's why Hogan didn't do anything. Hall, Nash, DDP jumped. Hall and Nash were trying to talk DDP out of jumping over to WWE because they had to buy out the contract, and they had to buy out the contract for pennies on the dollar was the offer. DDP took the buyout to go work for less. Hall and Nash are going, sit at home and collect your check, and they'll still take you in 2 years.
Well, you got to think too, DDP didn't even really get a start until he was in his mid-30s.
Right. So this was already their third, fourth, fifth run. You know, Hogan's at home going, I'm just collecting my money, living life. So there you go. Overrated, underrated, Factions edition. So there we go. All right.
And the moral of the story is keep your factions small and they have more impact.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about some factions here in a little bit after we start tearing apart AEW.
You think? Jesus.
Well, if you're ready for it, let's just get that show on the road.
All right. So AEW, keeping up with AEW form, continues to put their best matches on first.
Yeah.
This week, instead of tickling our balls a little bit and teasing us and enticing us, because I think everyone was waiting for the Christian Cage match to see what kind of ring rust he's got on him. He hasn't stepped foot in a singles match in like 7 years, and he's got a history of Frankie Kazarian here, so I think that could have been a good match to keep teasing us from the beginning of the show to maybe the TNT title spot where that normally is, right there in the middle of the night here.
That's a KayFabe Smark podcast original. The TNT title spot is what we call that 9 o'clock hour on AEW,
Yep.
And that would have been a good thing to do. AEW could have used their backstage segments for something useful. They could have taken their time and told a story. Whoa!
Nope. Right out the gates, basically before the credits are even rolling on the episode of TV that was playing before this, we've already got Frankie Kazarian. He was probably already in the ring, and then Christian Cage coming down and getting this show right on the road. I'm not complaining about this match. It did draw me in. Maybe that's what they were going for, but I feel they could have kept more people around for longer if they would have teased it a bit.
I would have teased it a bit, and then I also would have handled the match a little differently as we go, but we'll talk about it. So I just have some ideas that they could have twisted.
All right, so we are starting an AEW show with an actual wrestling match. These two, collar and elbow tie up.
Yeah.
Right off the get.
These are actual wrestling moves.
And the name of the game in this match was selling. And Christian Cage is an artiste. He is a selling master. He sold his ass off, and him being the baby face, that was exactly what he needed to do. To me, it's kind of hard to make Frankie Kazarian, look like a true bad guy, a true heel. Because let's be honest here, Kaz is in his 40s. He's not very menacing looking. You know, it's hard for me to paint Kaz as a heel.
We can only count the minutes that he's been on AEW TV with my two hands. So so a lot of people. What I'm getting at is a lot of people. I'm poking fun, but a lot of people don't know his story. He came from
Right,
he
that's
did
true.
his stuff at TNA and Impact, and because and everything through the indie scene. But even here on this, he's like, last week he takes a stab like, hey, what are you doing Monday nights? Oh, that's right, you're not doing anything on Monday nights anymore. Watch me on AEW Evolution or Elevation. It's like, why don't you just use the show that we're on? Why couldn't he get a minute to go out and do something? You know what I'm saying? So I think he just needs some more exposure. He's a great wrestler and a great hand. As it goes for, like you were saying about him being a heel, I don't see it either. But what they could have pushed more on this for me was Kaz could have been more of the flustered veteran, the guy that can't get ahead, that has all the tools but can't get it done, and been more angry than a heel. Play that.
Well, you can't take that gimmick away from Scorpio Sky. He's already using it.
They're in the same goddamn stable.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess to take a step back here a little bit and to touch on what you just said, if I wasn't watching TNA 10, 12 years ago, I'd have no fucking idea who Kaz is or why he's picking a fight with Christian. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't give two shits. But since I was watching Frankie back in TNA, like I said, 10 years ago, that's why I have a little bit of an interest in him. But I don't see him as a menacing heel, but still Christian Cage here with his selling, he sold his absolute ass off and looked like he was in legitimate pain most of this match. Really put Kaz over as an asshole.
Yeah, did a good job as that. I liked the selling on the angle, like with him trying to get his finishing move in, and really fighting to keep getting that finishing move in, and then keep getting denied to lock it in. The kill switch. Sorry, I keep. Didn't he used to call it the unprettier back in the day?
Yeah, he did.
That's what I wanted to say in my head as I was like trying to describe it. I'm like, that's not right anymore. So
yeah, that was an interesting aspect throughout the match. Christian just kept trying to end the match by locking in that kill switch and just could not get it done. And yeah, that was pretty much false finishes and selling was the name of the game.
So the only thing that I felt it was just a bit predictable. The match was good. These two can wrestle. They know what they're doing. Great. Predictability on what was going to happen because they kept. I liked the teasing of the kill switch, but then also because there was so much teasing of it, I made my assumption of how it was going to unravel, and I went, well, of course, Christian Cage is the new big guy in town. He can't get this finishing move in, so when he does hit it, it's a wrap. 1, 2, 3. Personally, I thought they could have almost went the other way and had, like, how cool could it have been to put a little storyline together where Christian is having a bunch of ring rust and he can't get a win in. He comes back thinking he's going to get a title run, and he loses his first match on TV. And then he loses. But they would have to take time with this story.
Yeah, that's not something that AEW's interested in.
So I'm saying if they did it, they could easily screw this up, and just shit in the bathwater. The whole thing's ruined now. So you would have to take your time with this and have him lose. You would have to have segments and vignettes and stuff for social media that happens nowadays for videos for him getting flustered as he loses 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. And then finally he gets the groove. He's the underdog, and now he's to the moon going for a title shot. I thought it could be a cool angle to do, but you'd have to do it perfect or it sucks.
Right. And that's just too complicated for AEW. We see how their booking goes.
Correct.
And they book basically for 7-year-olds. They're writing for people with attention spans of a fucking squirrel on Ritalin,
Unfortunately, it's where our society's at. I just watched it, and did you get that same vibe where you're like, he can't get that kill switch? Like, he can't get the kill switch. Finally, he got the kill switch, and you knew you're like, well, he's the new guy. He's talking about wanting a title shot. He can't get this kill switch in. Boom, he's going to hit it and win when he does hit it.
Well, yeah, and also Kaz's job is to make people look good, and he's fine doing that, you know.
Yeah.
So there was no doubt in my mind that Kaz was putting Christian over in this match, but yeah, the teasing of the kill switch, it was just like, okay, eventually it's going to happen. It's just a question of when.
Right.
Jim Ross loves to put his little digs in there, here and there. Quote from him: "This is a clinic, fundamentally sound. Guys in the back can only hope they'll be this fundamentally sound sometime in their career." The fundamentals in this match, just pro wrestling basics that you learn in wrestling school, were just crisp and on point, man. And of course, what else do you expect from Kaz and Christian? But just watching their strikes, their punches, their kicks, they were laying them in. They were actually hitting each other.
Whoa!
Now watch strikes from anybody in the Dork order. You know, they're missing them by 1.5 feet, or they're pulling with about 6 inches left. They're like, you know, it's so it's watching this match kind of showed you it kind of showed you what's missing from pro wrestling today.
Yeah, I think it was also great in the aspect that anybody watching this, I feel, could have sat down not knowing who these two were really. If they had interest in watching wrestling, I'm not saying it could draw in the masses, but what I'm saying is if it drew somebody in to watch it, you didn't need the story, too much of a story. You knew who was on what end of things. Meaning you knew that Christian was the crowd favorite. You don't have to use the term heel and face. Crowd favorite, and Frankie is you didn't even know, you don't have to know that he's the grizzled veteran that's, upset. He's just the guy trying to stop him. He's, he's coming into his house and he doesn't want him to let him through. So I think you could draw that in and see this from outsiders could look at this and go, oh, good guy, bad guy, or however you want to call it, and pick up on that a little bit. Not dirty heel, definitely.
And there may have been a little method to the madness here of putting this match on first, because maybe an old wrestling fan was just flipping through the channels at 8:00 at night and seeing, oh, here's some pro wrestling. If a casual viewer saw Christian Cage on TV in a match, and a damn good match at that, they might stick around and watch the entire show. With the bullshit and mayhem that happens later on in the show, I doubt they stuck around the entire 2 hours. But anyone who's watched wrestling in the past 20 years knows who the hell Christian Cage is.
Right. No question. I think it's going to draw some people in. I thought it was a great match. These guys put on a good show. It's just needed to keep, if they can keep telling the story with Christian coming through the ranks of AEW. Or if they're just going to rush him right to a pay-per-view and give him a title shot. Where rankings matter.
Yeah, ranking. Oh, speaking of rankings, I imagine it was Excrement who pointed it out, saying that Kaz is part of like the number 1 or number 2 ranked tag team in AEW right now. Let's rewind that a little bit. Remember when Frankie and Christopher Daniels said that if they lost their next match, they would never team up again?
Yeah.
Didn't they lose that match?
Damn. I don't. Did they have they ever actually had a match since?
No. And that's why I'm pretty sure they lost that match. I really should have pulled that information. But I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to be teaming up anymore.
So that already, so are they sweeping that under the rug and pretending like it didn't happen?
I think they are.
I think they are. We'll have news on that next week.
Yeah, I'll touch up on that. But Christian did hit a a beautiful frog splash that he went I think he hit it right in the middle of the ring there,
Yeah, he
maybe
did.
even a little further out.
Pretty damn good frog splash. Attempted it earlier in the match and just got a nice canvas sandwich for his troubles. So then he stuck the second one. I like this match. That's all I got to say about it. I like this match. I thought it was good, and they put on a little bit of a wrestling little clinic for AEW.
Yeah, this was my favorite match of the night. So of course, like I picked out a bunch of spots on it. Christian, as we stated before, was the underdog babyface throughout the whole match, and he sends Kaz into the corner post, and then ends up getting that kill switch finally. And after a post shot to the shoulder and a kill switch, Christian ekes out that win, gets the 1-2-3, and he's on his way. He's on his way to that title shot he's after.
We'll see. We shall see if they can do this right. It won't be hard to put some stank on it, make this thing stink up the joint.
And then we travel backstage, and we've got a vignette with Darby Allin and Sting on a bridge.
Yes,
and
throwing
they're throwing. Oh yeah, they're throwing dollar bills, y'all, because they're shooting on Matt Hardy here. And old Darby tells Matt Hardy, "You'll have to earn my respect because your money don't mean shit to me."
Ooh, they're rebels. They shoot things in black and white, and they cut out faces out of paper and poke eyes in them.
Oh yeah, they're running around in Matt Hardy masks.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Sting's making it rain off the bridge with dollar bills, y'all.
Literally dollar bills, $1 bills. It didn't it wasn't terrible. I guess I'd say that, and let me defend what I'm saying. It wasn't terrible because it was the status quo of what that has always been. A Darby Allin promo cut to thing. You know what I'm saying? It's become to be known as that's the bar. For what it is. Right. So it wasn't worse than anything he's ever done. It was just what they do and what he does, and I'm sure he has too much input on it. And I didn't even know there was an issue between Matt Hardy and Darby Allin.
I'm right there with you.
I
really didn't
fight?
know there was heat between them two. I thought Team Hardy was focused on other shit.
Yeah, so I missed that, or they're just making it up. So I'm not sure which way it goes. So either I missed something, or they're just making it up on the fly to have them have a fight.
Yeah, and like you said, it wasn't actually like a terrible vignette, but just in a very vignette-heavy night, this was just kind of there was nothing stuck out about it. Lost in the sauce.
There it is! Ding! Got lost in the sauce. So yeah, I just was the only thing the vignette itself. I was like, okay, they're goofy, they're throwing their money, you got the masks, okay, but why are they picking this fight? That's what I couldn't put together, and that's what I still can't put together. So we'll see how that unveils and unravels itself.
Well, we go from that promo to the next promo, and at least there's some actual logical heat between these two. We got Jade Cargill in the back cutting her promo on Red Velvet, and she's just being a cocky heel, and she ends it with her tagline, "I am that bitch."
They're almost pushing for a little bit of Attitude Era vibe. Like they're trying to be like the rebel version of wrestling right now. So they are cussing. They are doing their, I don't know. That's just what I feel like they're trying to do, but I think they're forcing it. Just like you said, the second version of DX was hey, this is everybody gets a DX shirt and everybody yells, suck it! So they're just trying to force in we're the cool kids. Look, we swear.
Yeah, it just seems forced. But Jade Cargill, it is fun watching her cut a promo because whenever she talks, even backstage, even on a pre-tape segment, she sounds
like a speak and spell. She
sounds like what?
A speak and spell. You want to pull the I want to pull the lever down and be like, A is for apple. B is for ball. And then he's like, I just pictured they got to wind her up in the back, and she's like, I am Jade Cargill. I am that bitch. Sounds like Siri.
Yeah, hopefully she gets a little more comfortable on the mic because she's in for is the little amount of time she's been training. She's pretty impressive in the ring. So let's see if we can get her to talk.
Yeah, if they can get her to talk or get her a mouthpiece, but you got to do one of the two, and it's got to happen probably pretty quick. What happened next in the old AEW? I don't remember the timeline.
Yeah, next we are on to our second match of the night here, and this one had potential to be a good match. I was actually pretty excited when I saw how it was introduced. We've got Cody Rhodes with the entire ass Nightmare family versus QT Marshall, special guest referee Arn Anderson, and this is an unsanctioned exhibition, and we were kind of led on in this last week by Cody basically saying this is just an exhibition and he's not going to hurt QT and he's basically going to hold back, and that just rose the amount of heat between he and QT, and we see that kind of boil over in this match.
Yeah. I thought that they could have done, well, the story was actually told pretty well. I'll get to what I have what couple of my issues with it in a minute. But I thought the story was told pretty well through this match of Cody's like, I'll get in the ring with you. You know, I'll be the big brother, but I'm not going to beat you up, you know. But obviously then I liked that they had QT getting a little dirty with things, some pushes, some actual slaps. And then I just thought they could have amped it up more to have Cody actually put him in the figure four, or have Cody actually hit him with a crossroads or a disaster kick, something that's one of his bigger moves that he was holding back on to do those. I thought it should have ramped up to that is where it should have went.
And I'll have to disagree with you because up until the extremely overdone ending of this match, I think the psychology was all there, and it was actually booked correctly and got done what needed to get done. The psychology being QT is going hard. QT wants to win this match. He absolutely needs to prove that he's better than Cody or that he can beat Cody. And Cody's just blatantly holding back, getting him into a crossroads and just letting him go. Getting them set up for a figure four and just never putting it in. It just keeps digging in and embarrassing QT more and more. And QT plays it off great, man. He is showing just pure frustration the entire time.
I think that what I'm getting at is I think that he should have, as he got dirtier with those big chest pushes and the actual getting more and more aggressive with Cody, then Cody should have went for some of those moves, maybe missed, and then there should have been a crescendo of at least getting something in a little bit to show that I'm still the head motherfucker in charge of this Nightmare family, or the attempt to it that would lead us to the ending. There should have been something that was a little more close to that ending. That's how I feel. But we can continue on with the match.
Right. I feel that just might have undone some of the shit and created a little sympathy for QT, and a little more sympathy than we needed. But because QT was supposed to be the heel throughout this entire thing, and then shit just hits the fan. At one point, Cody is holding the ropes open for QT like he's fucking Brandy Rhodes or something, holding the ropes like he's a valet getting into the ring, and actually starts a clap. Come on, everybody. Let's give him a round of applause for trying. And that just sends QT over the edge, and he just mollywops Arn Anderson.
I thought the Arn Anderson spot, I don't know. I thought it just seemed out of nowhere for me. It just seemed like Arn hadn't pulled him off yet, so there could have been some spots where Arn would have been more involved in the match, I think, and then if QT was getting too aggressive, And then he could have pulled back and said, "Hey, it's just an exhibition. It's just an exhibition. It's just that way too." We could have went that way, and then Arn gets it. But Arn was like nowhere to be involved in the entire match, and then he just catches a hot one.
I agree. QT had no reason, no logical reason to attack Arn Anderson at that point. And I guess the only thing we're left with is it was part of the grand scheme to confuse Cody, because QT just shows pure remorse, pure regret after hitting Arn Anderson. And he's just got this look on his face like, oh boy, I really fucked up.
Right. And then this is where the spot that I kind of like the idea. I thought it was executed poorly on how it was done. So they had a bunch of guys from the Nightmare family from the training facility of the Nightmare family. Kind of their big debut, right?
Right. We had Nick Camarado, Aaron Solo, and Anthony Ogogo hanging out with the normal crew of the Nightmare family of the Gun family, the Gun Club, Dustin Rhodes.
Right. All those other guys and that crew, that posse. And then so you had these guys, they get into the ring, and then it's just brought up like we know who they are.
Right.
When the turn starts to happen, we'll just get right into it. You know, these three guys turn on the Nightmare family, and they're joining the QT Marshall Renegade Club. I don't know whatever they're gonna call it, and they're gonna join Marshalls, and they're gonna. So, but the commentators are diving in like Anthony Ogogo. I can't believe he did this, and I'm going, you can't. Who is he? Is it the popcorn vendor? Was it a guy that jumped the barricade? It just would have made as much sense as me and you jumped in there and turned on the Nightmare family. It didn't. I didn't know they didn't know who we were either. It wouldn't have made any sense. So there should have been an introduction to them. We should have took some time with this, and unless it was all done on some other, they hide it on their AEW Evolution show, but.
Well, yeah, you and I talk about this almost every week, that AEW treats every Wednesday night viewer like we're watching every show, like we're watching Elevation, or we're watching the Tuesday Night Dark or whatever. I'm sure Anthony Ogogo and Aaron Solo, people who watch every Tuesday night, probably know who the fuck these guys are, but I have no idea. I actually had to dig in to the internet to get their names, because I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? Even though they said them, I didn't know who was who.
And I'm not mad that they brought young guys up from their training facility, their power plant, or their NXT, whatever you want to call it. I'm not mad about that. I'm just mad that it was like they made a big deal, like we should have known who they were. So they either should have introduced us to them weeks previously in a backstage segment before, they went out and been like, "Hey, I can't believe Cody, I'm so happy you guys came and you get to see this happen on the big show and you get to be there with me and ba-da-da-da-da." They could have explained it and introduced him in a segment like that. They could have taken their time and done it in 2 weeks. They could have done anything. But I didn't know who they were, and I was like, they turned their back. How long have they been with the family? How long? What's it mean? What does it all mean, Basil?
Right. So basically, just to jump right into it, we have no idea who these three assholes are. They're just three of the trainees with the Nightmare family. As the Nightmare family is checking on Arn Anderson, the three students, once again, Nick Camarado, Aaron Solo, and Anthony Ogogo, start attacking the Gun Club. They start attacking Dustin. Dustin ends up getting juice. They're just going ham. They get a hold of Lee Johnson. And this, Brian,
Big
that
Shotty.
Lee Johnson spot.
Yeah.
Big Shotty. They pick him up almost into a razor's edge type situation and launch his ass over the top rope. And he takes a flat back bump onto that plywood ramp or walkway or whatever.
Yeah.
But holy shit. He's lucky he got up and walked away after that.
That was a nice, It wasn't me, so I'd like to say it was cool, but I don't know how many of those you can take in your career, but hey, I'll say it was cool to see. It worked good on TV. I love a good heel turn and twist like this, but it just was missing a few pieces.
Every week, excrement gives us more and more reasons why we should start a petition over at petition.org or change.org or something to get his ass ripped out of AEW. Because QT, after Lee Johnson took that flat back bump on the ramp, QT is stepping on his head. And excrement suggests that maybe QT Marshall is mad at Lee Johnson because Lee Johnson didn't thank QT Marshall after winning his first Dynamite match, which, if I recall correctly, was over a month ago. So
we're going to go back to
something that happened a month ago. Now QT is so mad he's going to step on Lee Johnson's head.
Grr, I'm mad. Yeah, like
a month ago you didn't thank me in a speech.
And then nothing ever. And then it's not even like they're planting that seed, right? Where you start to see little things. So it wasn't even like QT. Like they're doing a good job. I know I'm gonna jump ahead just by using this example. They're doing a good job with planting the seed with Taz's Team Taz. And
they're rift, actually sowing a seed with that one.
The rift that's happening in that. So they didn't plant that. So they're just now they're just reaching for straws. They're like, we're gonna use this storyline now, and then we'll reach back over here and grab this and make it up and recreate this. It's not a long term. They're not playing chess on this. They're playing Connect 4.
Yeah, if they're lucky. They're playing tic-tac-toe. The Renegade students here go after Arn Anderson and try to break his arm over the guardrail. And here we go with excrement again. Nick Camarat lifts up the steel stairs and picks him up from the floor, puts him onto the stage. Excrement says that the steps weigh almost 500 pounds. He's picking up those steps. Those are nearly 500 pounds.
First off, when Gorilla Monsoon said it, it wasn't even cool. When Gorilla Monsoon said those were steel steps that weighed 500 pounds, Jesse, that still stunk. Nobody believed they weighed 500 pounds. Also, Eric and I were discussing, and I want to start making joking, inspirational quotes from AEW commentary. And I have in my notes app a little notes section that says it said stupid quotes from wrestling. That's the title of it. And the first one that made the list, as we discussed this on Tuesday and this happened Wednesday, was these stairs weigh 500 pounds. So that might be an inspirational quote card from our buddy Excalibur.
And almost like it was planned. Right after Excalibur mentions the 500-pound stairs, QT Marshall can be seen on the stage with 2 fingers on the stairs, adjusting them where they need to be in the right spot for the next segment of this match.
At least he got them lined up and nobody died.
Right, but he's moving some 500-pound stairs with 2 fingers.
Right. So, he's just tapping them into place. Dink, dink, dink. I'm sure they're more awkward than heavy, but they say they weigh 500 pounds. You're gonna say these could weigh hundreds of pounds, or that might be up to I don't know, it's something. You could just, instead of saying a number, just be a generalized these heavy steel stairs or something.
Right. There was a million different ways you could have went, but trying to tell us those hollow ass aluminum stairs weighed 500 pounds. Get back to your basement commentating there, excrement. Dustin Rhodes, he's a fucking trooper, taking a pile driver from QT Marshall onto those 500-pound stairs.
500-pound stair pile driver coming up. Thanks for coming, Dustin.
We got Anthony Ogogo. We have mentioned to us 32 times that he is a bronze medal winning boxer. Goes ahead and gives Cody a nice punch in the tummy.
Oh, man, I was panicking for that kid. I was like, let your cuff go. Rip the button. He was trying to get his cuff undone on his dress shirt, and he was trying to roll his sleeve up. And he's on live TV, his adrenaline's pumping, clearly about the first time that anything this big has happened in his career. So he's trying to get that cuff undone, and I'm going, just let it go. You can punch with the shirt on. Rip the button. Cody will buy you a new shirt. He probably gave you that one. So just yank the button off. Finally, he got it just before it became too awkward. And then he rolled his sleeve up and gave him a nice body shot to the gut. And I just didn't, again, I'm just going to state it again. Didn't know who they were. Didn't know why I was supposed to care. And that's a problem we have in AEW a lot.
Yeah, that is one of their top 10 problems right there, is just assuming we know who the fuck these people are or why they're mad or why they're doing what they're doing.
There's no middle ground with these crazy bastards in AEW either. It's either you just know, and you should know why they're mad and who Anthony Ogogo is, or they're going to over-explain it to you 96 times that Darby Allin and Sting are just brothers from another mother who were just meant to go hang out on bridges together. We get it. They love black and white snow. Who cares? So it's just either they over-explain or they don't tell you anything.
That's the way we're working these days, Brian. This is professional wrestling. This is what professional wrestling is supposed to be. But after Cody takes that body shot, he is down for the count. We drag him over to the stairs, and QT is about to smash Cody's skull with a chair, and Red Velvet comes in and saves the day. You can't smash his head. You guys are friends. He's my partner. Let's just let him go. And we are told that QT just can't say no to Red Velvet.
Just can't say no to Red Velvet. I thought there was too much talking from Red Velvet at this. I thought it should have just been a come in and throw your body on the grenade.
Right. All she had to do is lay across Cody. QT wouldn't have hit her, and that would have been plenty. And a little more dramatic and better for TV.
A little less is more. You know, Bruce Pritchard, famous for saying, if you think you're going slow enough, slow down. Just take your time. And they could have really sold that with her just laying there, even trying to maybe look like she's crying or laying there, you know what I'm saying? And he could have just dropped the chair on her and walked away. So there's a lot of, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of things that they could have done. This was done about mediocre. If I was going to rate it out of 10, I'd say it was done at about a 4. The idea is good. The execution was poor.
But out of this, we get another faction. We don't know what this QT faction is called, but yet another one in AEW. I don't know too many wrestlers who aren't involved in factions at this point.
I believe they're going to be called the Cutie Pies. The QT Pies. I'm being sarcastic.
I hope you're serious.
I'm pulling an April Fool's joke. That's just a rib. But it'd be funny, though. If that shit happens, I'm going to die. The Cutie Pies.
Be prepared. Be prepared for the Cutie Pies. And
that's what Eric's going to call them now for the rest of as long as they're a faction. The Cutie Pies came out.
Who knows? It'll probably last a week, and then the guys will be back on Dark or Elevation. But on to another vignette, Brian. We've got Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and they're both tired of being passed over. Even though Ethan Page we've only seen him wrestle in one match, maybe 2.
Yeah, 2.
The ladder match. That's all I remember.
1. They're tired.
But he's already tired of being passed over.
He's tired of Passover.
He's just jumping on the Scorpio. he's jumping right on the Scorpio train, and they're ready for their shot.
Yeah. What's their name going to be? Yeah, I don't know. That I kind of jumped past that. I didn't pay too much attention to it, so I don't have much information to throw at you on that one. It stunk on ice, and I didn't care.
That wasn't really anything. It was just a couple close-ups, tight shots of those two, and wham, wham, wham. They're bitching. They want their shot. But we can go from that segment to another backstage segment.
Oh, can we?
Because, yeah, Red Velvet just got done saving Cody's life, so she needs a backstage interview, of course.
Of course.
But she can't barely get 2 words out because here comes Jade Cargill. And Jade Cargill, man, she's a fucking goof on the microphone, but she is strong as a fucking ox. She picks Red Velvet up and just absolutely launches her into that equipment case. And my jaw dropped. Man, she hit that case hard. And I don't think she was play selling on that one. I think that was a shoot.
Yeah, I don't think Jade knows how to go light, so I think she just said, well, I can either do this one of 2 ways, right or wrong, so let's just fucking toss you into the case there. Just yeet you right into it.
and of course, at the end of that segment, we hear, "I'm that bitch." It's almost like there's a button on her back that you just push, and she screams, "I'm that bitch."
Got the speak and spell cord in the back.
I'm that bitch. Hey, Brian, do you think we should go from that backstage segment to another backstage segment?
Oh, man, what would we do without it?
Well, let's go back to this nice, romantically lit locker room back here. It's a nice, faint red back there. And we've got Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley basically reciting a Cat in the Hat book here, Dr. Seuss. Kenny Omega, that pisses me off. I don't know what the Young Bucks want, and that pisses me off. I do not like green eggs and ham. That pisses me off. Basically, everything just pisses off Jon Moxley. That's what we get out of this.
Don't forget his burns are itchy, and the barbed wire is still hurting his back from 3 weeks ago at the pay-per-view.
And guess what, Brian?
What's that?
That pisses him off.
That pisses him off.
So everything's pissing off Jon Moxley, and it's good to get his blood boiling because he's got a match tonight and next against Caesar Baloney. The Baloney Pony himself.
This character was a little, again, glorified Brooklyn Brawlers is what they're putting him up against. Like, even as a kid, I knew the Brooklyn Brawler was going to lose, and this is, but this is like, you're just like, now they give him a name and make it a thing, and you're like, the Trevor Baloney or whatever his name is, you're going, he's not going to beat Jon Moxley on Wednesday Night TV. This is their show. It's not going to happen here. So how are they going to grow from this?
I think they want to turn this guy into something because this just wasn't a regular ass squash match, and it wasn't a Peter Avalon versus Cody Rhodes situation where it's a 50-50. But Baloney here actually gets some decent offense in, gets to show off a little bit before Moxley eventually just chokes him out. But and we show Baloney's got a crew. That would be the other Ziggler, not Dolph. And then another guy.
Real groundbreaking crews. They got to have a crew and a name and give them a faction. And
yeah, Ryan Ziegler and Caesar Baloney, and then some other guy. So they've already got a faction. Caesar Baloney is already in a faction, Brian. That's how eager Tony Khan is to put everybody in a group.
Yeah, I mean, this was these are fans that grew up and came through that Attitude Era, and everybody was in a faction through the Attitude Era, right? There was 2 NWOs, and there was 4 DXs, and then there was the corporation, the ministry. There was everything under the sun that ran through that. So this is now they're getting to run their own wrestling promotion, and hot damn, everybody gets a name. Everybody gets a group. Sell a T-shirt.
Everybody gets. Tony Khan is that guy who opens up a bag of Skittles and separates them by colors. That way everything's in a nice little group. We don't want people getting mixed in together. Everybody needs to be in a nicely formed group.
Nicely formed group, that's right. Yes, it's pretty whack.
And just in case we got too much professional wrestling, too much action in a wrestling ring, we're going to go ahead and shoot over to a hotel room where we've got Team Taz maxing and relaxing. And they need to let us know that everything's cool in Team Taz again, because Ricky Starks had a great time at Dark. And we're going to build up the heat, a little more heat. Do you think something's boiling over? And do you think there's some tension between Ricky Starks and Brian Cage at this point, Brian?
Well, at least they're trying to sell it to you that way. Whether it ever happens or not is another goddamn question.
Yeah, so Ricky had a great time, and Brian Cage says that if Ricky Starks would have tagged him sooner, they would have gotten the win faster. Now,
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably, but who cares? Ricky Starks
maybe if Ricky Starks was in TNA or Impact Wrestling in 2018, Brian Cage wouldn't have lost clean to Tessa Blanchard.
Possibly. I'm wondering if you're going to turn and be a Brian Cage fan when he is then the babyface, Eric. Are you going to like Brian Cage when he's the good guy and he leaves Team Taz? He's going to go on to be the superstar of AEW.
Nope, I'm becoming a hookalo. I'm going to be a TJ Hooker.
TJ Hooker. This is just, you can tell something's coming. Like I said, I have no faith that it'll be done and done right. It'll just be forgotten about. And so that's my joke with AEW now, is what story are they telling and what are they going to forget? And what story are they not telling and then assume that I should know? So you're just always trying to figure out what's happening on this goddamn show.
It's just a complete clusterfuck every week.
And I keep tuning in.
I mean, what are we going to watch if we don't watch this? We'd have to end the podcast after 1 year if we cut out AW, because I'm not watching Raw and SmackDown.
Not for a full-on review.
No, we can start doing once a month episodes, just pay-per-views. But Brian, have you had enough backstage segments yet?
No, I want one more.
You want one more? Okay, I'll give you MJF and Pinnacle in Pinnacle's new locker room, that being the locker room that they stole from the Inner Circle.
The Inner Circle we have not seen for a good 3 weeks.
They've been hiding out. They've been laying low. MJF is getting a little too comfortable. He took over their locker room for his faction, the Pinnacle. He has hired them a personal stylist who has a nice little folder full of swatches of custom suit material and whatnot. MJF has also hired an interior decorator to redesign their new locker room, and he needs to show off his ideas to remodel the bathroom. And the Inner Circle, Brian, is hiding out in the bathroom. They have been waiting for this chance. They've been waiting for this moment. This is where they attack Pinnacle.
I actually thought this was done pretty well. I didn't mind this whole thing. It had your classic.
Not gonna lie, it was pretty decent.
They had the classic wrestling surprise. You opened up the door. MJF does it perfectly, where he opens the door, sees Jericho, slams the door, and says, "We got to get out of here," and leaves his buddies behind. Right. That was
right.
He pretty much was like, "We got to go," but then just was like, "Hit the bricks." And then you open up the door, you get Hager on the other side. They've got him surrounded, and then the ass whooping begins. This was clearly done in a cinematic style state. At least to me, it gave me a pre-recorded cinematic vibe. Did you get that at all?
Oh yeah, I just felt like this was in the arena, almost like a football fuckery, filmed the same way, where we've just got different groups of people in different sections of the arena, and we're all just going to tie it together like it's all happening at the same time.
And that was fine with me, the way that it was done. You could put together a little more of an intricate story, and it's happening backstage, and the fact, too, that it was only a segment, meaning it was just a small portion of the evening. So it was done. You were able to make sure you saw everything that was supposed to be seen of everybody getting beat up, and I thought it was okay to do cinematic style that way. But a full-on, all-out cinematic style matches, I'm out of them. I'm done with them.
But yeah, this brawl, it was a little cheesy, but it actually drew me in a little bit. If I'm gonna watch two factions go at it, I guess I could stand Pinnacle and Inner Circle beefing a little bit because let's face it, out of the 42 factions floating around AEW right now, those two are probably the most interesting.
Yeah. I liked Dax Harwood got busted open pretty good. So that was pretty, I hope everybody's okay, obviously, but it's cool for TV and makes for good video when you got blood gushing out the top of somebody's head. MJF takes a hot one through the Pepsi refrigerator, which was great.
Well, that was after he got his swirly. First, Jericho went ahead and wetted his head, put his head in the toilet, and then, whipped him through a Pepsi machine.
So I thought it was all done very well, and it wasn't overdone. Before anything got too campy and too out of control, they tapped out, and then that was it. They tossed MJF and the Pinnacle out on their ass. They ripped down their sign and slapped up the Inner Circle sign right above their room number there, and that's the Inner Circle's locker room, bitch.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, what?
I know you said one more, but do you want to go backstage and see what Alex Marvez is cooking up with the Young Bucks?
My God, it doesn't seem like all this happened in one order, but this is how it all went down, isn't it?
Yeah, I take my notes in chronological order, and this is how it went down. We've got Alex Marvez backstage with the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks are just tired of talking about Kenny Omega. They're over it. They don't want to talk about it anymore. But Don Callis is not over it, and he wants to talk about it even more.
No. Not only do they not want to talk about it, they don't need to talk about it on TV.
Oh yeah, this
you morons. Excuse me. You morons run and are vice CEO, presidents, COOs, I don't know what your title is, of the promotion that is telling the story on TV. Whether you're going to make it a reality-based storyline or if it's campy and football fuckery, as Eric likes to call it. It's what you do on TV, so you can't, I just don't want to do this on TV anymore. All right, Nick, hit the bricks then. What do you don't want to tell your story on TV? You shouldn't have went to a TV company to sell your show. Now I get we're supposed to be the fourth wall, and I understand I'm taking it a little too literally. But what I'm getting at is that's a stupid line to use. He should just say this doesn't need to be handled now. There's just so many other ways to word it, but it was just dumb, and that part really bugged me.
Yeah, Nick Jackson's a fucking goof anyway. He old balding buck, as we like to refer to him as. But Don Callis, thank God for Don Callis, because this segment fucking sucked until he walked into the room. Don Callis tells Balding Buck and Alex Marvez to kick rocks, kicks him out of there, and basically just shames Matt Jackson and ends up slapping the living shit out of him because all the things Kenny Omega has done for the Young Bucks, and they are just a couple of ungrateful little bastards, Brian.
Ungrateful bastards is right. I can't believe that they would even try and treat Kenny Omega this way.
After all Omega has done for them, he could have been living the life in Japan, Brian, but instead he's on this shitty little TV show. That's the way Don Callis kind of makes it seem.
He does bury it a little bit. It just doesn't. So are they friends with Kenny? They joined the Good Brothers, 2 months ago now, right? Made a cool T-shirt and everything, and then scrapped that idea. Then they were mad at the Kenny and the Good Brothers. Then they were friends with them again. Then they were mad at him again. Then they joined forces with the Good Brothers and had a 4-man tag or an 8-man tag.
They're booking this shit like in Fast Forward. All these hills and valleys that they went through between the Young Bucks, the Good Brothers, and Kenny Omega, all all this shit they've gone through in about 6 or 7 weeks. This is like 2 years of storylines if they would have wrote the shit correctly.
Right. They should have had Kenny, the Good Brothers, and the Young Bucks be friends, run with it for a month. We could even we want to slow it down. Let's give it a month and sell the goddamn T-shirt you made, and then have some things come up where the Good Brothers handle things a little bit how the Bucks wouldn't handle it, or Kenny handle things how you know what I'm saying, and have it be some swinging back and forth. And then the big heel turn, and they could have really just told a story and taken their time, but they didn't. I don't know what they're telling, and I don't know who we're mad at and who we're friends with week by week.
Well, Callis is doing his best to have Matt Jackson fight back and show some rage. And apparently Matt Jackson's been smoking his marijuana and doing yoga on weekends because he basically just woo-saws his way out of it, and he calms down and he holds back. And Don Callis calls him pathetic.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. Then it's half of the Young Bucks we were talking to, so that part they're a tag team. But so Nick doesn't care. Just leaves Matt to talk to Don Callis like he's the leader. So now Matt's the leader of the Young Bucks. I don't know, man.
I mean, he's the younger of the Bucks, right?
I don't either way. I don't remember, and it doesn't matter. It's like, but you're a tag team for the love of Pete. He should have been, and it's his brother. He's like, I'm not leaving my brother. I'm standing here. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. Leave. Okay.
He's like, okay, I don't care anyway. Bleh. But yeah, so the Young Bucks, weren't they just super kicking random people like 2 months ago? They were just complete assholes, and they would super kick anyone who crossed their path.
And then give them
now
money.
They've got Don Callis just basically bullying them and shitting on them for weeks and weeks straight, and they can't raise a hand to him.
They just don't know what to do and don't even want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it on TV. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm going home.
Turn off those TV cameras so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it on a TV show, you silly goose. AEW doesn't want to do anything that involves a TV show. We have a wrestling show, and they don't ever want to let people fight. They always send 900 security guards to separate people from fighting on a wrestling show. And they don't want to talk about things on TV. What are we doing?
Nobody knows what they're doing over there, and that's the beauty of it.
I don't think you understand. That's the beauty of it.
You got to realize who AEW is marketing to. They are marketing to the audience of this next match, Brian. They are marketing to the audience that wants to watch the Lucha Brothers and the Laredo Kid take on Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers.
I like the Good Brothers, so it draws me in.
Oh, this match was Cirque de Bullshit, to borrow a phrase from old Jimmy Cornette there.
Cirque de Bullshit from Jimmy Cornette.
This thing just, before the match even starts, we're launching ourselves over the top rope to do catch me spots. And right away, we're not even a minute into this match, and we've got the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega just kind of standing around waiting to catch a flying Mexican. and it's like, hey, Kenny, I heard it's raining Mexicans down here in Jacksonville. If we stand around long enough, just give us 30, 40 seconds, we're bound to catch one.
Bound to catch one. Just everybody stand close together. Everybody stand close together. Here, somebody's going to jump on us. Bullshit.
And then so we get about 52 catch me spots. And then, of course, whenever the Lucha Brothers are involved in anything, there's allowed to be 92 people in the ring at once, and the referee just doesn't care. So we get a 3-on-1 on Kenny Omega for a while. You get Laredo Kid and both Lucha Bros on Kenny Omega, and then it's right back full circle. More waiting around and more circus tricks.
Yeah, I didn't care for this whole thing, to be honest with you. I do like the Good Brothers. I do like a high spot I do like what the Lucha Brothers can do. Ray Phoenix can run the ropes and do that stuff. It's pretty amazing to see, right? But when it's laid in, when that's all you're waiting for him to do, there's nothing in between.
Right.
That's the part that bothers me.
So we're trying to mix up styles a little bit here. The Good Brothers actually slow things down, particularly Luke Gallows here. He slows down the Cirque du Soleil routine here, and then we finally get back to a normal match for just a half a minute here. And we've got Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers isolating the Laredo Kid and actually healing it up a little bit here. They're keeping him away from his tag team partners, which the referee doesn't give a shit anyway. So I don't understand why Cero De Niro and fucking Ray Phoenix aren't just getting in the ring anyway. But
yeah, the same thing went for me watching this the other way too. You're going, so the Lucha Bros and the other guy can be in the ring all together for majority of the match, but the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega, who are the heels, they're going to follow the rules and only go in one at a guy. I can't go in and save him. There's 3 guys beating up our friend, but we can't go in and save him because we haven't been tagged. That was kind of the attitude I was looking at it with as well from that side of it. Like, why are you guys following the rules? The good guys aren't.
Yeah, I don't know. This was a whole clusterfuck here. And it's just basically routine. We've got Lucha Brothers flying spots. We've got the Good Brothers doing their power moves. Kenny Omega's just tap dancing in the corner before anything he does. And just in general, we've got 6 guys all just taking turns doing spots. And if you're not doing a spot, you're just casually waiting in the corner or off to the side, but still in the camera's view, just waiting for your cue to do your spot. And in my head, as I'm watching this thing's just all jumbled up. It's just a complete shit show. And almost on cue, Brian, the crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome." This is their core audience now. And even this core audience is dwindling every week. So I don't know what they're going for. If they're going strictly for people who think this match is awesome, shit ain't gonna last too much longer.
The match awesome, I have to disagree with. Were there some awesome spots? Sure. I'll give it to them if they were there. But, but we've also been fooled, and, they can pipe these things in too. So I'm not sure how much live crowd was there that night, right? Was it one of their pre-taped ones? Were they going in live? Because I've noticed some of the pre-taped when they're pre-taped, it's not too full of people. So, and also, was it the wrestlers chanting "This is awesome"? Around ringside. So there's a couple of things that they could be trying to trick us with. But nonetheless, if this is what is supposed to be awesome, meaning even if they're trying to trick us into saying this is awesome, this is what they're building their company on.
Right.
Nonetheless, whether the crowd was saying it or they were making us believe the crowd was saying it, they're building their company on this.
Basically, even with our Christian and Kaz match at the beginning, this is looked at in AEW's eyes, what they're going for. This was probably the best match on the card, the 5-star, 6-star match, if you will. If you had to pick a 5-star match from this card, this would be it in the AEW playbook.
I would have to agree that this would be looked at very high and very held to a standard.
And I just don't get it. I'm not completely against high spots or lucha style flips or running off the ropes. But there's ways to do it where you can make the shit make sense or make the match make sense. Nothing makes sense. At one point, you can have 3-on-1s in the ring for 45 seconds and nobody cares. in another sense, your partner is getting the shit kicked out of them, and you just got to hold on to the tag rope because you don't want to break the rules. Nothing makes sense here. You got guys just waiting for a Lucha Brother to do a flying jalapeno on them, Tita Santana style, and they're just waiting for it, waiting to take the spot, and it just, none of this shit makes sense. It's just a performance.
There's a couple things going on. One, I think that there's too many guys involved. You have clashing styles involved. Gallows is not a lucha.
No.
He's a giant. Kenny doesn't wrestle that way. And, so you got three guys who don't wrestle that way, Gallows, Anderson, and Kenny. Three guys, that's all they do with nothing in between. There was just no meat to the sandwich. There was nothing that combined it together, that brought you together. There was just two opposite ends, and nothing got put together with either side. So I thought it sucked for the most part. If you want an overall opinion, I thought it sucked. Did it have some cool spots, some cool things happen? Yeah, but most of all, I didn't care for it.
It just looks like they were backstage and they had a box of spots, and they just were randomly just putting their hands in there and, all right, we'll do this one, and then we'll do that one, and we'll do that. And none of these in any particular order. The only spot that matters is Kenny Omega hitting the one-winged angel at the end.
Because they say nobody's ever kicked out from it.
Nope.
And then you get John Moxley and the Young Bucks come wandering down the ramp there?
Yeah, after Kenny wins with the one-winged angel, we get John Moxley coming down the ramp, and that adds a little drama, a little tension to the room.
Oh, that's right.
You get a little stare down.
They came out separate, didn't they?
Yeah. And so you got Omega and the Good Brothers kind of staring down Moxley, and then the Young Bucks casually stroll down.
Matt Jackson still holding his jaw from when he got slapped.
Yeah.
25 minutes ago.
By a 68-year-old man. So, yeah, I don't know who would be scared of that little puss. But anyway, once we see the Young Bucks and John Moxley together, and John Moxley just got done fighting a match against the Baloney Pony, Matt Jackson still can't chew macaroni because he got the shit slapped out of him.
Did you choose macaroni because it rhymed with Baloney Pony?
I think I did. But either way, the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega, they see this little group come out together, and they're out the gates. They're not sticking around for this shit.
We don't want no part of this.
Nope, they're out.
Yeah, I didn't understand. And that's, again, we went back to, go back to what I was saying about AEW, is that we build it up for something, but we don't want to wrestle on a wrestling show. We don't want to fight. We're going to separate it, and then Kenny is very upset that they're out there. So does Kenny not want to fight him because the Young Bucks were there? Like, I don't want to wrestle my friends? Or do you get what I'm saying? Like, is that how they're going to try and sell it? But that would work, where Kenny's torn between his friends and his friends, the Young Bucks, and his compadres, the Good Brothers. I get it. It could work, but they didn't tell that.
Storyline wise, why would Kenny Omega care? He's extended his hand to try and welcome the Young Bucks back, and they've figuratively spit in his face over and over. At this point, he should just be like, fuck him. Especially the way they play Kenny Omega is just a heartless asshole lately.
And I agree with that. That's how it should, because that's the story that's kind of being told. But then they won't beat him up. Why didn't you go for a beat up and then send out 42 security guards and separate them again? Right? There you
go.
You could have just separated and had it done and save it for a pay-per-view. Great, save it for May. Have the three of these guys, the 6-man fight. They love 6-man shit. Put all these 6 boneheads together and call it your main event at Double or Nothing or whatever the next pay-per-view is called.
Yeah, you know what we need, Brian, is we need a little more backstage action here.
Just before we jump backstage, the other thing that drives me nuts about these things that they do on AEW, and they wrap up these quote segments in this matches. You own microphones. WWE is great for that, right? The second something goes wrong, they're first thing. Randy Orton's looking for a microphone. He's waving his hands. Triple H is whoever. At all eras of wrestling, because then they can grab it and they're like, "You want to come out here and fight us? You're not gonna fight us here. We're prize fighters. We're gonna fight you at the pay-per-view, or whatever. Or you're not gonna do this. We're out of here." And they could just, whatever. They don't. They just stand there, and Kenny does his hands on his head, and the Good Brothers are waving people off like, and we're going, "What are you saying? You have microphones on a PA system. Grab them and literally tell me a story." That's all I want.
They figure Kenny Omega's facial expressions and finger pointing and tappy toes tell enough of a story.
I think it's just that indie wrestling vibe hasn't left them yet. And they haven't stepped up to the big stage.
Well, yeah, because in the indie shows, you don't need to further a storyline because you're not going to see each other for another year or so unless you cross paths in Omaha, Nebraska at a flea market.
Exactly. So I think they got to remember that this is a weekly thing, episodic, telling a story, and they, like I said, reach in a hat, grab a story, tell it partially that night, partially tell that story, do it haphazardly, and then jump to the next week. But where do we go backstage, Eric?
We're going to Britt Baker, and she's going to cut a promo on fucking half face painted Thunder Rosa here, and Britt
delivers,
is just solidifying her spot.
Britt has taken the what some may remember as the Scott Hall approach to things, and Scott Hall got this from the Freebirds back in the day. They would lose. I remember Scott Hall doing this on TV. He would lose at the pay-per-view, come out Monday night on Nitro, and say, "One more for the good guys." It's like, but you lost! And he would put himself over, as simple as it was, and still challenge him and be like, "You didn't beat us." And Britt got the shit kicked out of her on that lights out unsanctioned match.
Yep, slammed through a table,
bloody
into
and
the
beaten,
thumbtacks,
bloody, beaten, tacked up, and who's walking away? The winner. After the
Britt
1, 2,
Baker.
3 with Thunder Rosa winning, but who won that match? Britt Baker.
Britt Baker. That match was unsanctioned, so she didn't even lose, Brian, because the shit didn't count anyway.
I mean, she's
fantastic.
She's got that bloody face on a shirt already. She's wearing it. She's taking shots at Mick Foley, saying it took you 20 years to become a hardcore legend. I did it in one night. Like, it's great. It's great. And she came out and talked me into watching her wrestle again.
Yeah, if Britt Baker was in the next wrestling match, I would have watched it. But we had instead the Bunny and Nyla Rose taking on Ty Conti and Hikaru Shida.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened after? What was the next match?
I tried, but then we ended up having the fucking Dork Order and Matt Hardy's whole fucking money crew or whatever. While there's a girls' piss break match already taking place in the ring, we've got just a complete outlaw bullshit brawl going on outside the ring between two shitty factions that nobody cares about. And at that point, it was fast forward. I don't even know who won.
I don't either. I think those things happen for, like, guys have, like, contracts and they have minutes that they're supposed to have on TV, and then they're like, well, all right, just send all of you out there and start fighting on the outside. That way you can get your TV time. You're allotted your 7 minutes of TV time. I got to give it to you. I don't know how to do it, so everybody go fight each other real quick.
It's just a shit show. None of it makes sense.
This sucked. This didn't even. Again, this was like bzz, zip right past it.
So we're going to our main event of the night match. Main event of the night. We've got that Arcade Anarchy match.
Gotta have a
where
name.
the ring is just surrounded by arcade machines and prize walls and whack-a-mole machines and
The only thing that I can give this is the prize wall was actually weapons. Made it kind of cool. That was kind of a cool little thing, a twist, because I was expecting them to have AEW balloons and stuffed animals and like that kind of silly, just like actual stuff that you would see at an arcade. You know what I'm saying? So at least they had like barbed wire and bats and stuff up there. Like that was kind of cool.
But it's just the fact that, okay, so you want to take the fact that these guys play video games on Twitch and WWE doesn't want to let anybody do Twitch stuff, and you just run it into the fucking ground. You are kicking the shit out of this dead horse to the point where we're having a match where the point of the match is that it's surrounded by video games. What the fuck do video games, arcade machines, what do they have to do with a wrestling match?
Well, now mind you, when I say that the prize wall was cool, it was because the rest of this was so far down of being complete trash that at least they got that little piece right. Is all I'm. The arcades have nothing like. This made the Mimosa match look like it just made so much sense.
A masterpiece.
It made sense. Like, because you're going, okay, the object is to get him in the Mimosa. One of the two fall in there. You lose when you splash in the junk. Great. And same thing with, there's a couple other, the exploding barbed wire death match. The barbed wire touches and explosions go off and there's barbed wire. But this could have been anything. You could have hot dog vendors around there. Like, what did it matter what was around the ring?
Exactly. This was a match, a Falls Count Anywhere match. And still the star of the show was the fact that there's arcade machines surrounding the match.
If it could have been somehow, I don't know how you could have done something where they were equivalated to prizes or some or weapons or inside the machines or something. You know what I'm saying, to get to, but they were just there. It's like, okay, cool, and then not even
pointless.
really use them as weapons. So yeah, it sucked. It was dumb.
And basically, what I did full time during this match was just try to keep track of every cheesy, stupid spot that happened, and there was smoke coming out of my keyboard, Brian, because I was every time you turn around or looked up, another stupid ass spot was happening. And we start off hot with Orange Cassidy throwing Kip Sabian through the whack-a-mole machine. But the backlight of the whack-a-mole machine is made out of straight up styrofoam.
Yeah, it was just foam board.
So he throws Kip Sabian through literal styrofoam. Kip Sabian sells the living shit out of it. And Orange Cassidy proceeds to words can't even describe how shitty and fake this looks. So you've got Kip Sabian laying on the whack-a-mole machine with a piece of styrofoam on his back. Orange Cassidy grabs a padded mallet that you play whack-a-mole with and not only hits the styrofoam that's on Kip Sabian's back, but does working shots with a padded mallet onto a piece of styrofoam. And Kip Sabian is just selling the fuck out of it.
Well, in Kip's defense, he's out there to do a job as well, right? And his job was to go through these spots, so you can't. The story would suck even more. Imagine the opposite, what we'd be talking about too. If he's like, then he just laid there and did nothing. Like, Kip was kind of in a catch-22 in his spot, but the whole spot itself sucked. So at least you're going to do it. You just go along with the flow, I guess.
I'm putting a ton of this on Orange Cassidy, though.
Right.
Why? Okay, so you go back to your first match with Christian and Cass. They're really fucking punching each other. Granted, I'm sure they're not laying in 100%. Now, Orange Cassidy, he's got a padded mallet in his hand. What would it hurt to just go off and hit this motherfucker with a padded mallet and then sell it? And then it's like, all right, it would still be shitty, but literally these guys can't do working punches or hits in general. They, instead of just kind of limping your wrist a little bit and following through, Orange Cassidy is slowing down at the last minute and basically tapping this styrofoam board on Kip Sabian's back. And oh man, I was just taken out of it right from the beginning. This shit looks worse than the public access TV shit we used to watch 10 years ago on basic cable.
That was classic stuff. Yeah, I would love to disagree and create a back and forth here in this discussion of did this suck or not, and I can't because it did. And that spot was miserable, and I remember watching it last night going, Eric is going to hate this. So here we are.
It was just a straight up abomination. That whole spot, I could spend an hour talking about it. And then Miro makes it, just puts the cherry on top when he comes over and he grabs a padded mallet and he's hitting Orange Cassidy with the padded mallet. Granted, harder than Cassidy was hitting Sabian. And then Cassidy's selling the padded mallet. And it's just like, we get it. You guys are playing with toys here. Like,
cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Miro, I will put a positive in this match, or I will pull a positive out of this match. Miro is actually slowly turning into what he is supposed to be.
I was wondering if you were going to go there because I was. So I was going to say a lot of this Miro made this somewhat digestible when he was involved as the guy, because he was a bit aggressive last night.
Yeah, he showed power and aggression. And I think if he sticks with it, he's going to see that he's going to get over. He's not going to be a baby face, but he'll actually get some heat on him and he'll get some emotion of fans watching him like he's supposed to. And I had to explain the whole situation to my son because he doesn't pay attention to this shit. But I go, it's real fucking funny that Jim Cornette just digs into Miro and says, you fucking joke, you fucking loser. You came from WWE. This is before the whole Lana shit, where you were just a monster heel and you were destroying everybody. Now you're just a big fucking goof wearing a pink Mickey Mouse t-shirt and crying about video games and being a complete pussy and a comedy sideshow act. And you look like a fool. Everybody's laughing at you. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Miro throws a temper tantrum on Twitter, threatens to kill Jim Cornette and all that shit. And real funny coincidence that after that whole incident, now Miro's trying to turn himself into a monster heel.
Which is what he is built for and has the look for. So go be it. Walks like a duck and quacks like a duck is a duck.
It's just the right thing to do. And that's why I was just saying it was just what a strange coincidence that Miro gets all that criticism about how he just looks like a fucking fool, and it actually clicked in his head. And you got to give Miro credit on that he was actually able to take the criticism and and actually work with him. Like, you know what? I'm going to try to be a monster because look at me. I am a monster.
Right. Be scary. Otherwise, be a good guy. Why be a heel but not be scary? Why be a happy heel? That doesn't make any
Nobody
sense.
wants a happy heel. And AEW does what they do best here, and they just try to bury Miro here by covering him in debris. We've got fucking chairs and tables and video games and everything laying on top of Miro, and we're going to try and pin him here, either Cassidy or Schmuck Taylor here, and he powers out of that whole thing. Sabian saves him. Please correct me if I miss any retarded spots here. We get a teddy bear full of Legos.
Yes.
So
2 weeks previous, or whatever it's been now, we get the classic ladies, the classic black velvet looking bag that everybody knows what's in there. Nice shiny silver thumbtacks. This week we get Legos.
Let me reiterate this. 2 weeks ago, we had girls, 210-pound female wrestlers, juiced up,
and I'm talking
covered in blood.
These aren't Bull Nakana girls. These are both like ladies that you would want to be seen with out on a date. Like, both of them are very attractive women. We're not talking these are rough barmaids. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna go have a brawl with barbed wire and thumbtacks. These are women.
These are 1990s WWE valet type girls. And they have a bag full of legit thumbtacks, and they're taking multiple spots in these thumbtacks. And we get Schmuck Taylor and Kip Sabian with a teddy bear full of Legos.
We went from here, from the sky, to the basement in weeks.
You go from a bloody deathmatch staple with girls to fucking Legos inside of a teddy bear. I don't know how many times I can say this.
And then I believe you hear Tony Schiavone say, "Do you know how bad it hurts to step on one of those things?"
God, Tony Schiavone just needs to be shot. But
he's just doing his job and collecting a check.
I guess it beats Starbucks, right?
Right.
We get what was a girl who came out? Penelope Ford ends up interrupting a 2 count here by pulling Ref Aubrey out of the ring here. And Penelope is just so rudely interrupted by the return of Chris Statlander coming out of the claw machine, Brian, the UFO claw machine. Chris Statlander was just living in there amongst the aliens.
For the last, evidently she's been gone for a couple months. I didn't realize it. Nobody told me.
She's just been living with the aliens in the claw machine, a la Toy Story.
Of course. Where else would she go? I mean, she is the living epitome of UFO aliens. So then you got that. Where are we at now? There's another surprise coming up shortly here.
Yeah. Let's take a step back, Brian. This is the main event of a 2-hour wrestling show on national cable television.
Let's compare main events from 2 weeks ago.
Next, the next one in my list is the return of Sue. Sue pulls in as our baby faces are trying to escape the arena and climbing up the ramp. We see a white minivan pulling in. And is that Sue? Is that Sue? The commentators just pull us in. Could it be Sue?
And who gets out of the back of the white minivan?
It is the return of Trent. And Trent gets a nice kiss from his mom. And It's the return of Trent
We will take
to
away.
the AEW arena.
Let's take away the minivan, the Sioux. I think another saving grace, if we're going to give any little bit of life back to this fight, is Trent coming back. Trent has the physical capabilities and the look to be physical. I'm not saying that it takes it from 0 to hero. I'm saying it takes it from 0 and you get a few points and it lasts. You can buy it just seconds longer. But at least him and Miro at least have a look that they could square off against each other, right?
Right. And this just popped into my head because I was just kind of putting together everybody involved in this shit show. And the only two people that are worth a wad of spit in this entire thing, this entire match, is Trent and Miro.
That's it.
If I owned AEW, if I was an executive vice president, I would future endeavor Orange Cassidy. I would future endeavor Schmook Taylor. I'd future endeavor Penelope. You could stick around. You just got to write a little better for her.
I think the same for Kip. He's just being used wrong. But you can kick him out if you so choose.
Oh, I would kick Pip out. And I'm issuing a challenge to you, Brian.
Oh boy.
We have 7 days. Let's take the AEW roster and let's narrow it down to
who should stay,
25.
Who should go. 25
Give
people?
me if you owned this company and fuck having a dark and fuck having a developmental and all that, you think 25 is too many? I think 25 is a good number where you could run a weekly TV show.
All right, we'll do it. We'll
have upper guys and lower guys.
We'll talk about it next week.
All right, next week it is. Brian and I will have our 25 guys that we would actually keep if we were booking AEW.
We'll see who matches with what.
All right, and so yeah. Once again, I just reiterate, Miro is doing his shit in this match. He is being a monster heel, and he's just fucking people up left and right. Trent comes in, and he's fucking people up left and right. And Schmuck Taylor ends up power slamming Kip Sabian off of a stage, through some tables, and then I've got the 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I missed anything at this point, but I think that was a wrap.
One goofy ass spot where Miro threw that NBA Jam or Mortal Kombat machine, and the front of it, and then there was a paper taped on the front of it, and it just said tokens.
Right, because my son was watching this with me, and he picks up this machine, and he goes, "Yeah, right. I don't care who he is. Nobody's picking up an arcade machine." And just to prove his point, it's almost like the cameraman was in on it. We show that there is absolutely nothing inside of this machine, not even a screen. It's just covered with a piece of paper that says tokens.
Yeah. I was at least giving him the benefit of the doubt that it was those arcades those arcade machines you can get from Costco at Christmas time. That
right,
is just
one of the little ones.
And those ones are pretty light and easy to, you know what I'm saying? And I got a big giant guy like Miro, but then it was even just a hollowed out version of that with just a screen with handwritten paper on it that says tokens for whatever reason. That what the fuck does
it's
that
just
mean?
How cheap and hastily is this shit put together? It's honestly like kids are booking it week to week too. They have no idea how this thing is. Tony Khan has no idea what's going to be going on in AEW in 90 days, and he owns it and books it solely.
Tony Khan doesn't know what's going to be going on in 9 days. 90? Shit.
I would try and book a promotion at least 3 months in advance, but man, this guy's not even booking 3 weeks in advance.
You know, I'm a big fan of that old school WWE style that they always talked about, backwards. So what's your big thing to work backwards from? What do you want to happen in 6 months? What pay-per-view does that put you at? Who do you want to have the title? And how do you get there? So then you got to walk backwards to where we're at today, and let's get it that way. That's the way I would do everything. I would reverse engineer it every time like that. I don't understand how that fails, because if something comes up, somebody gets injured, it's easy to make a move then, but you still know the end story.
Right.
You can keep telling.
Work backwards.
Work backwards and tell the story forward, and if something gets thrown off, you just readjust and keep moving, and then, plug and play back into the thing when the guys are back and ready to go. So that's that. AEW was a complete shit show this week.
With the exception to that very first match.
That was it.
Basically, if you wanted to watch a wrestling show, all you needed to do was stick around on TNT until 8:15, and you were good to go.
So they should have had the arcade match first, because it could have been set up, right? Set it up, go live, it's out to go. 92 backstage segments, you get it all cleaned up and put away, and tease the entire night of Kaz and Christian to finish it off, and you would have walked away going, that's a pretty damn good show. Because you would have ended tasting steak and not shit.
And Kaz would have came out a little hotter too, I think.
Yeah, I think it would
rather just being the first guy on the card getting jobbed out.
They could have told the story. They could have done it similar how they did the Miz and stuff that night a couple weeks ago on Raw, where they kept teasing it that it wasn't going to, like, oh, it didn't happen. All right, it's going to be later. Oh, it's going to be at the 9 o'clock, the 9:30, the 10 o'clock spot, and there you go. Could have been a great way to tell a story, but we got nothing, and we're left with this nonsense with a terrible taste in our mouth. That's how we wrap it up. And speaking of wrapping it up, time to wrap it up and bring this show home. I got nothing else to talk about. It is the KayFabe Smark podcast. If you're listening on iTunes or on Spotify, either way, make sure you share with a friend, leave a review, and give us a thumbs up or a rating, and then head on over to all of the social media platforms. That is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and then also YouTube, the KayFabe Smark. Subscribe, like, and join us there. Get on all of those platforms and hang out, and let's hang out and talk some wrestling. Next week, we're going to be talking about, well, probably the same stuff, some AEW, and more details of what's coming up for WrestleMania, as we will be in the middle of WrestleMania week, so we'll have some things that might have happened through Monday, some things happening going out, and getting ready to see what's going to go down for WrestleMania coming at you next week. So, Eric, you got anything before we hit the bricks?
No, just want to tell everybody, enjoy your weekend. Have a happy Easter, and make sure you tune in next week, talk to us. And other than that, hooty hoo, we out the gates.